everyone, my name's Mark Phillips. I was a professional footballer for over 20 years, playing for various clubs including Millwall, Brentford, Southend United and AFC Wimbledon. This is my story about my discovery of neurodivergency, ADHD and autism. And today I'm pleased to welcome Chris, who's come down from Manchester to do our first episode. Really excited to have you here, Chris, and would you like to introduce yourself, mate?
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I've worked in professional football for over 18 years now, very much focused on player well-being with a commitment to advocating for footballers' mental health across the Premier League, EFL and WSL. I'm a therapist myself, and my role is very much strategy-focused with an aim to sort of have direct, clear pathways of support for players, their mental health, and that leads into subjects like neurodiversity. And I've played a role in one of the biggest pieces of research done with professional athletes from the training ground in professional football this season, which fortunately meant that mine and Mark's paths crossed, which is why I'm here. And I'm really grateful to you, Mark, to have me here and help you facilitate this first podcast on such an important subject. So yeah, going straight into it. Thank you once again, and I think for the viewers, the first question is why are you here? Why have you chosen this important subject of neurodiversity? And yeah, really introduce yourself and the subject matter.
Yeah, so this kind of chat today is to first of all get my story on the record so we can quickly move forward and help others, empower others to really kind of learn themselves, ask their own questions, and see if they can discover neurodivergence and how that can affect your life in negatives but positive ways at all. Before my own discovery of ADHD, my knowledge was very limited, probably down to the usual stereotype that most people are aware of. So this really become a passion that everyone knows what ADHD is, but the awareness and the actual reality of it, knowing what it's about, was much less than I actually thought. And so through my own journey, hyper-focusing and really studying and learning who I was as a person, it just really opened my eyes to how many people are struggling out there through things they're neurodivergent they don't know of, or they're not managing it in ways that they can really make it a successful part of their lives and thrive from it. So yeah, it really started from my own passion for helping others. I started a football academy through my career, and I love watching the players develop, learn, kind of get that confidence to them express themselves and who they are. So when I got my kind of news, I really twinned that with my knowledge equally of how many footballers are kind of might have a neurodivergence of some sort, definitely sports people, and even higher percentages of basketball players. And I twin the two with my passion for helping people and my knowledge of the football industry to really want to bring it together and come out publicly and use this for the greater good. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, my experience in football, and not many players are lucky enough to have careers the length that you've had at so many clubs and at a high level as well, Mark. And the question to you would be, you'll have so many wonderful stories. You will, you've lived your dream, basically. You've worked hard. You'll have engaged in behind the scenes things that all supporters want to hear about. What made you want to focus on your whole entire football career? What was it that made you wanted to focus on ADHD as your first podcast?
Yeah, like you said, the world of professional football could go into many avenues, but this was one really personal to me. I've become so passionate about the lack of understanding out there, the lack of knowledge and the lack of awareness. And in this modern diverse world, it just seemed an injustice, which was a huge part of ADHD in itself. For me personally, I went through a few things in my life which I really didn't feel understood or seen. So that was really powerful for me that actually there's reasons for things out there, which we'll come on to. And I know stories connect. So I used my platform of my professional career, but also there's a lot of lived experience from me that I really resonate with, met people, worked in the kind of special educational needs departments. And there's so many things that people are struggling with. And I just felt this is so personal to me. And when I've got that passion, like I had the passion for my football career and playing career, I've really got to explore this because I felt felt at home here. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And this podcast today will set the foundation for all the work we're doing with the website in terms of building a resource pack, a toolkit, knowledge and education through the website, and also the how I learned, which we'll come on to about through social media. We're on Instagram through the Neurodivergent Footballer, the ND Footballer, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and that we'll come on to that. But that's how I learned about this and how it wasn't ever on my radar until I saw things that made complete sense to me.
Yeah, so it's absolutely clear the focus is ADHD for this first podcast. And I suppose, homing in on that, what sort of challenges did you recognise? Because you've had a late diagnosis. So what did you recognise growing up as your difficulties? Was there anything that really stands out for you, knowing now as a late diagnosee that you reflect on your career and you think,
yeah, definitely
this stands out for me?
Yeah, definitely. I think the honest truth is I've always felt different in some sort of way. Could never put your finger on it, but you just know there's something different. The way you think, the speed of thoughts, the kind of constantly. All for me, I was very active. Always needs to be on the go. Could never rest. The word rest was non-existent to me. And again, I thought that was everyone was like that, and that was normal. So that's really what difference I noticed, and then kind of. Also emotionally, I've always felt very emotional. I remember crying as a young kid at the pantomime, for example, which I just feel other people's kind of sadness, and very empathic. I now know what this is, but growing up as a young man in a quite tough southeast London area, it wasn't particularly a skill or strength that was what you leaned on, because you had to kind of bit of a survival kind of area, and that then went on to football as well, where it's quite an aggressive, competitive sport. Particularly in a professional game, so it was something that I had to hide, which I now realise that over a long period, I've used different kind of masking techniques and behaviours to kind of get away from that differentness that I feel inside, even if people can't see on the outside. I did it very, very well, and as well equally at school. I'm sure people resonate. I loved coursework, loved kind of school. But when it comes to the exams and really retain that information that needs to go down the paper, I found it particularly hard and would get very frustrated as an ambitious person who was told you had to achieve at school and you had to kind of to do well in life. It put huge pressure on me, and I really struggled with exams, that I just couldn't retain the information. My mind would go blank, and it's even more understanding this, which is why I feel that the understanding needs to come in as early as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you've spoke about early life and school there, but what do you recognise the most about ADHD showing up within your football career specifically? And probably double-barrel question this, and where are the strengths, where are the positives, where do you think it really, really aided you and progressed you as a player?
Yeah. This is important we say this. It's all in hindsight. At 43 years old, when you kind of find out this news, you're looking back, you're reflecting on your life backwards. So new things are coming to me every day about how it affected my life. But in my football career particularly, I change. So I've got autistic traits of my ADHD as well. So change was a big thing for me, that I knew in life in general that I don't particularly like change. It feels uncomfortable. But there were some big chances that I could have moved on, where one was I got flown to the SBL for only 1 month's loan, so it wasn't that much pressure. Looking back on it, would have gone away, and the next two games were Rangers away and Celtic away, which are some of the two most famous games in the kind of UK. And for me, I didn't see the bigger picture, that could have been an unreal experience. It could have propelled me to maybe getting signed for a better club, more money. I didn't see none of it. I just saw that I was out of my comfort zone. And it was just too much for me, and I wanted to get back on that plane and be back in my comfortable surroundings, which I recognise traits of neurodivergency is common in all of us. But I think it's important to recognise the levels that are extreme when you have got a neurodivergence confirmed. Equally, I was doing really well in the Championship when I was young, and Genk, who were a Belgian team, came in and owned the Champions League at that point, and same thing. I really like the opportunity, so I'm thinking, I can but know that something would just become too overwhelming, and I just like the comfort of where I lived, not uprooting my children, and like I was referring to, that a move is daunting for any footballer, any player. They've got to move themselves from where they are, their children, their girlfriend, their partner. There's a lot of kind of stuff involved, but it's just that level that, yes, it is big upheaval, but probably not to the point that you're going to turn down more money and more opportunities in life. That this was too much for me, and I opted for the safe option, which now I realise how much it kind of may have been that, down to my neurodivergency. Equally, it's a bit of a joke in football that we joke around. If you're not a footballer with a routine or a ritual leading up to a game, it's almost like you're the odd one out. And so I recognised that my rituals and routines were very rigid, to the point that I had to, when I was younger, 10 p.m. bed. If it was 1 minute past 10, the next day I'd already really be doubting my performance leading into that game. Then the next morning, waking up certain times, what order do I get dressed? What time is my pre-match? Go out early? What time to warm up? It was very extreme, and again, it doesn't create that environment to thrive and succeed, because it's all pressure. You put pressure on yourself that maybe with the understanding you would have relaxed a little bit more and understood. And yeah, I was fueled by fear, I suppose, fear of making a mistake. And as a defender, you're going to make a mistake at some point. And yeah, that really kind of would hurt me in terms of making a mistake and a losing or costing a goal or sending off. All these things, it was so extreme that I didn't need any coach or manager to tell me anything, because I was already come down on myself 10 tons harder.
Yeah. And anyone listening with ADHD is going to resonate with everything you just said, and it doesn't matter what walk of life they come from. And you talk about the rituals that football give you. It's almost suited to someone with ADHD. You can have those erratic behaviours, you can have those heightened emotions, and football almost gives you that schedule. But then when you talked about you had that big move, your whole world's turned upside down because you don't know what it looks like, you can't visualise it. 2 big games, that's a lot of pressure. We're going to play Rangers and Celtic potentially away. That's a big change, even though you're still staying within the UK borders. And then the one abroad, I mean, that is another big change. So although you were still going to remain in the football industry, it's a big change, different language if you were moving abroad as well. And you can see how, although the rituals could have went with you, you can see how your emotions would have been heightened, and completely how that would manifest for anyone. It's the football industry in a nutshell, but with ADHD to add on top of that could be very, very difficult for the individual, and it was for you, clearly, and you recognise that. And I suppose that leads probably nicely into asking, what made you go for an ADHD assessment? Because it was later on in life and you'd retired by then, but what actually was it that triggered you to do that? Because you spoke about so much from your career, but what was it in your life that made you decide, I'm going to go for a diagnostic here, an assessment?
Yeah, I suppose it's been coming a long time. So this is a process that happened over a much longer period of time, and particularly become more apparent when my career ended. So that's when things for me felt like they changed. A lot of people, the broad statement that footballers struggle at the end of their career, which they do. There's a big change in your life, but it didn't kind of make the full sense to me, because I couldn't play at the level that I wanted to play anymore. My body wasn't quite kind of functioning because of countless injuries I'd been through. So I was kind of okay. It was time. But yeah, then another couple of things happened at the same time. My dad passed away very suddenly after getting diagnosed with motor neuron disease in a quick period of a month. So that was quite a big change, and I went through a pretty bad divorce as well. So I just put things down to these huge life-changing moments, and again, it just didn't make complete sense. I got it, but there was a bigger picture somewhere that just some piece of the puzzle was missing. Sporting Chance were an amazing organisation who helped with counselling, which was really beneficial in the moment. But again, when I was looking for that longer term improvement and quality of life and enjoying life, it just wasn't quite there. So it's been a long kind of time coming. So fast forward 4 years from my career ending, my own son, this is how it really began, was my own son had and a lot of people I've now found out through research find out from their own children. particularly people around my kind of age of 40. And it was his diagnosis that got me talking, having conversations at home, talking about ADHD, his struggles at school. And that's when my phone was listening to me, and things on my social media, Instagram, Facebook, were suddenly coming up. Lots of posts around how ADHD manifests in adults, how actually the stereotype of the hyperactive boy is as far from the truth as it can be. That actually my thoughts were internal. Everything is internal in your mind, your speed of thoughts, your constant thoughts, the way your kind of organisational skills, your emotional processing. Just so many points just completely made the most sense I've seen in years, and it really gave me optimism that this is the line that I need to explore.
Yeah, it's real powerful stuff, and thank you for sharing. There's some difficult moments there, particularly with your father, and for anyone to go through something like that, it's insanely emotional. There's no right or wrong how you deal with that, but you had a divorce on top of that. You talked about all the struggles with your football career, and it sounds like the negatives were the things that springboarded you actually onto the diagnosis. And it's a famous saying, really, isn't it? There's never a great autobiography without a few chapters of adversity, and sometimes that can springboard you into the rest of your life. And I suppose the next question would be, and thank you once again for sharing that, because that was some deep stuff. How did you feel when you got your diagnosis? And I know that obviously, I work with lots of players, so I speak to players who are going through that process. And I know many of them, they're quite worried about that diagnosis. They're almost worried that, what if I'm not ADHD, for example? What if I've not got autism? Then how do I explain my behaviours? And how did it feel for you when you were going through that process?
Yeah, it was a real kind of roller coaster, because like you mentioned, this is the most optimism I've had in years. I really pinned a lot of hope onto it, and I asked myself the question, what if? Where do you go if this is not your answer? Like, that's a real scary place to be in. But I think it's important to say the word assessment, I just feel, is totally wrong, because it's not in my mind, how I see it is you're being assessed whether you are or not. Once I'd had the assessment, it was an informal conversation like we're having now. The lady Jenny was beautiful. The words she used, the way she was so understanding. She helped educate me while we were talking, and it was so powerful. It was probably one of the most kind of life-changing, important moments of my life. It was that powerful, and I have to try to keep the emotions in when I talk about it, because it was so emotional. There was countless times where she was giving me confirmation that I wasn't broken, that you're good enough. Like, the amount of things you've achieved, and even down to that I had an answer now. There was an answer for everything, and we joke about this privately between us, that the best saying is, it all makes sense now, and it was so powerful to change, and that I've been like this from birth. It's not something that is wrong with me. This is how my mind works. This is who I am, and the beauty of the world is that we're all different, and that's what makes the world go round in this diverse a world which it should be celebrated. So yeah, it was a really important time for me, but the diagnosis is just the start of it. That is such a great moment, but now it's learning who you are, where next, and there's so much more.
Yeah, and I remember our long conversation. I think it was on the M6. We must have spoke for 3 hours, and I was trying to educate myself for what I do with players, and you told me about your diagnosis and the book from Alex Partridge, and now it all makes sense. And literally, I'd just read it, and you'd read it as well, and I was relating to what players had told me, what you'd told me, and it was just, yeah, it's so powerful for someone to read that, having had a diagnosis, and 80% of that book you can relate to it. How powerful is that to know that other people feel that way and have that diagnosis? And then I got a sense from you, ever since you sort of told me about your diagnosis and we started chatting, that you're really, really keen to learn. And I suppose, what have you learned so far, and how much more is there to learn? And is it going to be an ongoing process for the rest of your life, or are you already at a place where, I'm starting to get it, I'm starting to make progress with this?
I think after 43 years of living a certain way, which has not worked out well, of trying to be something that you're not, it's like almost like starting again. It's a huge kind of change. But even little bits that I was in the diagnosis, it was so simple that I was even told, like, it's obvious why you think your life has changed since your football career has ended, because I had that constant level of fitness and and training to an elite level that was regulating and managing my ADHD traits and symptoms, and even down to the kind of connection of people in a change room and that group mentality. It all, the football world just leads perfectly into its neurodivergence, even down to the structure and routine of training games. It grounds you and you know where you're at. You haven't got to worry about things, and these are all things that really, really, really helpful to a neurodivergent people. And like we discussed, the studies of neurodivergent footballers is potentially really high percentages, up to 60%. So it makes complete sense why football would lend itself so well to it. But yeah, I've learned quite a lot. Like I said, about the structure, getting straight back on my fitness, how important training is, whatever that may be to you. Also ask myself kind of like, how would you treat a friend? Because particularly for me, I can be a perfectionist, and so I never feel like I've achieved. I look back at my career, I felt like a failure. Most things I'm doing, like I have a negative stance on it, which is a kind of effect from the unknown ADHD going on, as well as the judgmental world of football. But yeah, so I don't particularly feel great about myself in many topics, but I think it's that understanding, acceptance that I've learned that I am I'm full of love, and I've got so much empathy for so many people and so many kind of like struggles, and that's why this lends so well to me, because it's what I want to do, it's what I enjoy, and it's allowed me to embrace that. So all these differences, rather than seeing them as a negative, I now see them as a positive. And actually, why wouldn't I see that I care about people? I want people to do well as a positive. And also learned that asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength. And because so much has happened since I've got my diagnosis, that I've told friends about things and shared things, and I'm lucky enough to have such a great network around me of people who understand, get it, and they're there for me. And it's really been helpful because it's made it clear in my mind, my experience is what I see and very personal to me. It doesn't mean that anyone else can see that, and everyone's experience. So seeing things from two perspectives, as me wanting to help others to learn about neurodivergency, but also us to help about and learn about kind of what ways other minds think. So it's been really, really, really helpful.
Yeah. And you're so humble the way you say that you're so lucky to have your network, but all the things you said there, they're incredibly lucky to have you. The empathy, the love. You talk about people's uniqueness, and everyone's different, and you want people to be there for each other, and you want to be there for everyone, and almost embrace their unique differences. And that's just such a nice way to put it, because everyone is different, and it's just diversity of thought, isn't it? Whether you're neuro-inclusive or neurodivergent, and we all have differences. They're not all just neurological. And the way that you summarised that, it was just so nice, and it just shows you the type of person you are. And sort of a lot of that was away from football. But since your diagnosis, do you look back on your career? If we focus back on football again, do you look at your career differently? Is there any messages to yourself? Do you view it in a completely different way?
Yeah, I just see so many strengths. Like the struggles were probably actually down to unknown ADHD traits at the time, but how as a footballer, and again my personal experience, is that how I can problem solve in the moment, how I can kind of hyper focus on my passion of football. So many things I look back with that were, it's probably my neurodivergence is probably the reason that I was so successful at football from playing from a young age, obsessive of every little detail and perfecting every little skill, pass, off the pitch, like analysis, nutrition, my kind of resilience to come back from injuries. There's so many positives when I look back at my career, and actually and now can be more kind and compassionate with myself, that I've actually got an answer. That I can view myself differently, and actually and not see things as being arrogant, because everyone would tell me I'm the furthest from arrogance at all. But it's okay to give yourself a pat on the back and said you've done well. So it's around, there is struggle in being a neurodivergent. There is ups and downs, but we've really got to kind of lean on the positives, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing my story. But sharing my story to help others and be a platform to kind of empower others to ask questions, learn about themselves, and see their differences as their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I remember one of my conversations with you, and asked you were almost playing down what you'd achieved, and I said, Championship's one of the best leagues in the world. It really is. And you were in it, and you're playing week in, week out. And you almost didn't like the compliment, but sometimes, I think you even said sometimes I need to sit back and recognise that, because it is true, and you should. And you've mentioned so many positives there. Call them superpowers. It's the buzzword, isn't it? And they are superpowers. But football career is over. You're moving into a new area of life. You've got this focus with your podcast and all the wonderful things you've just said about helping people. And I suppose, what do you think some of the most difficult things are in terms of how ADHD, what struggles does it bring you today post-football?
So I mentioned, like, it's almost like starting again. So a lot of people do have a grieving period of what if, and I think it's maybe the autistic side of me. I can't go back to the what ifs. You know, like I had my football career, and that's it. It's like, what's moving forward. So for me, the tough part is that after 43 years that I actually do have limits now. Before, I thought I could grind, I could work, I could try to achieve. But actually, I've done a lot of learning around that. Actually, I haven't got endless energy. I was constantly in burnout. My eyes would be watering come kind of 3 p.m. And I just thought, have a coffee and get through it, soldier on. But actually, there's a medical reason why I need to take things slower. I need to calm down and almost like set many challenges of the day. And it's quite tough knowing you have limits and you have to be aware of them, because if you go into overwhelm, it can then lead to kind of negative thought spirals for me and kind of some negative things. So it's all about managing, really. I mentioned already about being kinder to myself and particularly around feeling not good enough, constant comparing to others. So it's just being aware that is part of your past, and these new ways of managing it in terms of meditation, breathing exercise, just to calm your central nervous system down, are really important, because you're okay. And it's just that understanding takes a little bit of a while, but it's so helpful. And by doing this, I found by doing less, it just chills me up. By going for walks, calming down, I've actually achieved so much more since my diagnosis than I could have dreamed of, and the work slowly just started, you know. And equally just learn about organisational skills. Like, you don't have to do it all alone. So I've always been the 11th hour person. People don't they're surprised when I say that, but I kind of grasping myself up here. But I am, and I've noticed there's a reason why, because my organisation skills aren't, but I can produce unreal work when I need to.
Yeah.
So I've got other people involved. I've got people who actually enjoy the admin, enjoy the skills that I don't find comfortable, I don't find excelling, and it gives me more freedom in my mind to slow my thoughts down and be more creative and come up with ideas, which is what I love. Also down to the emotions, I'm very, as I mentioned, quite emotional person, but it's more about feeling. So when I talk about emotions, I feel everything. I feel like if you were to share a problem with me, I'd feel it myself. Like, I'd feel it as equally as if it was happening to you. So it's about understanding that and managing that as well. And actually, that does take a toll on it in your energy each day. You haven't got that endless energy. But these are all negatives and challenges. But on the flip side, there's so many positives, so much more positives than negatives for me, and it's about honing in on them and really tapping into them as not quite there on the superpower one, but yeah, really your strengths. Because I definitely don't think, I find it's hard to say about achieving things, but being kind to yourself, I really believe I'm doing a worthy cause at the minute.
Yeah, wow, what an answer you've given. I asked about the negatives, but they led into so many strategies that you have to work through those negatives, and then the positives. And you almost took the next question out of my mouth, which was the positives, those superpowers. And can you hone in on them for the listeners and talk more about them and how they support you in everyday life? And you've mentioned about 5 or 6 of them already.
Yeah, I think I probably missed the only one was about talking openly with your friends and loved ones. I think the understanding is key, because there is some difficult times with ADHD when you kind of doubt yourself, and you, especially after 43 years, it's not going to happen overnight, that kind of positive change. So I've got some great people around me. So I think it's really important for people with neurodivergence to be around people who understand them and accept them for who they are, and the brilliance that they've got in them. And equally in the tough times, to understand their true heart and who they are, and remember who they are, and help remind them this moment will pass, and to not see them through a negative lens, which is unfortunately why I kind of did experience. So I really get it. So it's even more important that you are around people who've got an understanding of neurodivergence, and if they don't have an understanding, help and communicate that to them, because that's the only way, because you can't assume someone else is in your mind and sees what you see and feels what you feel. So it's really good to communicate that, and especially with people who are going to be there to support you, which you've supported me amazingly. So thank you there on the record today.
No, it's. I mean, I think some of the things that you've discussed are almost trademarks of ADHD, where people that have a basic understanding would probably think about the creativity, the increased energy, the ability to try anything, but you've just added so much more. And someone that does work in that wellbeing space and does work with people that have got ADHD, I sense that with people who have been diagnosed, and they know that they've got it, and they can confirm to me they are empathic, they are loving, they do love deep, meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
And everything you've said just resonates with me in the people that I talk to in that space. But it does come with its difficulties, and you've just give such a 365 view of everything there. It's just, yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. And suppose another question that's important was, why do you feel it's important for you to go public with this and to share your story? What do you aim to achieve from that? And I think you've said a lot about helping other people. I mean, the whole theme has been helping other people, which is amazing. But
yeah, it's also that kind of just that this is a spectrum. There's so much of a spectrum, and that everyone, it's so important to everyone. There's so many people not being diagnosed or no awareness, because everyone's ADHD or their neurodivergence is unique to them. It's literally no two people are alike. We've all got different life experiences. It's common sense that we would all be different. So I think that's kind of like part of the mission, and like we touched on some positives there. Out of the box thinking. I always want to learn new things and create new concepts and ideas, like the empathy you talked about, the love, energy, passion, ability to hyperfocus on something you're passionate about and become elite, willing to try anything. Like if I'm down for anything. You said to me, Mark, let's do it. I'm saying it tomorrow. Yep. Even that kind of like impulsivity, but in a positive manner. It's just, yeah, and that was the reason I wanted to kind of spread awareness, break stigmas, and show that ADHD does not define success, and to also give others the courage to explore their own stories, not my story, explore their own stories and thrive in life down to their understanding of how unique and amazing they are. That's the message. People, you're not broken. Yeah, you're not broken. Your brain works in a different way. That's all it is, and it's not a bad way. It's a beautiful way that you think differently. Some of the most successful people in the world have got that different thinking, and we're in 2025. It's a diverse world. It's going to become more and more accepted, and people are going to understand and get more knowledge. And them answers. That knowledge is power. We said knowledge is power, not in money terms, just in understanding who you are and your differences, and what how that can make you limitless. There's so many positives, and we need to lean into that, aware of the management of the other side of it. And that's why I created the website, to try to give people toolkits, advice, breaking it down step by step to keep it simple, because it was a bit of a minefield out there as well for myself personally. So I do understand that. So that was the bigger term picture of really, really empowering others and giving them the platform to thrive in life and not struggle.
This is really a message not just for people who are neurodivergent, isn't it? This is a message for anyone. you've covered everything you said there. Is a positive message for anyone that's struggling out there, and the message that you're sending it's so wholesome, it's so factual, it's all based on empathy, love, being there for each other, supporting each other, and raising awareness for people, which is what you're doing right now, that have someone in their lives that might be ADHD or someone that's just struggling in their lives. And I suppose, what would your message be to someone that has someone in their lives that's struggling? What would you say to them? Whether it's their teammate, it could be son, daughter.
Yeah. This is equally as understanding on both sides. So this is not just for people exploring. It's about, like you said, their sons, their daughters, and this. I just think it's just that understanding that, and to sometimes not, you might not understand it or feel it, but it's just that listening of the fuel for me to go on this journey has been through others. I've shared a couple of stories and been honest with people, and I can see them just light up, and when I see that, and then I get a message later saying that I've not shared that to anyone else, and I'm in shock, but so grateful and so humbled by that. Then people saw in me that they could share that with me, and that's just my fuel. So, and classic ADHD style, I've completely forgot the question. So if you could repeat that, because my mind goes off on a tangent all the time.
No, you actually answered it. It was, what would you say to someone that has someone in their lives that's struggling, and focus on someone that's got ADHD and all the things that may bring up for them in terms of the difficulties and the challenges that comes with. Just what would you say to someone? And you actually did answer that, Mark, to be fair.
It's all about just that understanding and making them feel seen and heard, seeing the truth in them, seeing the love in them, that this is not a problem. This is not that they're any less than. It's just that they're wired a bit differently, and there's struggles. And some of us, we do experience the day is a lot harder than maybe someone else, and not in a comparing way, but it takes a lot of effort. Our thoughts are going 24/7. It doesn't switch off. So that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of sapping, overthinking things. So it's just maybe a little arm around someone, like and being there for them, and just seeing them, whether you understand it or not, just letting them know you're here. I see you, kind of thing. Just keeping it really simple, and they'll come back. Like this doesn't last forever. It's just a little moment in time. They might need a recuperative activities, which I do lists on our website of things that kind of just regenerate your energy and replenish you. So it's just it's very simple. We're not asking for the world, but humanly qualities, and if someone that you love, it would usually come naturally to.
Go on, then. I'm going to put you on the spot. Go back and tell us all what you tell that younger version of yourself.
That if I'd known earlier, I could have been kinder to myself. So it's all around the kindness, that you're not lazy when you're not doing what you think's expected of you. You're not broken when your thoughts are spiraling into a kind of place that you don't quite understand. Your brain just works differently, and that is your strength. That is your strength. I would have told lean into that, Mark. Own it. Believe in yourself more, because without knowing, it makes you question yourself, and that's where I was. Always questioning myself, never backing myself. My self-esteem was low, so I would tell myself to learn to accept my uniqueness and not compare to others, and really, really believe that life is to enjoy. We all know that life is to enjoy, so enjoy it, because you're doing so well to be a professional footballer and be the 0.whatever% of the population, because that's some achievement. Even if I didn't feel it then, I can certainly see it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think it is you'd like the viewers to take? I mean, I've taken so much from it already, and thank you for sharing all of this, but what would you like the viewers to take away from this first episode?
I suppose like that optimism that I had when I kind of was looking forward to that diagnosis. It might be that, like you said, their family, friends, that they just wasn't quite sure what it was, that which is completely fine because we all think differently. And so it's maybe a little bit understand, a little bit like compassion if you're kind of neurotypical, but equally for a neurodivergent, that it's that hope. I want to give people encouragement that there is a better side to it, whether you can see it now or not. There is such an upside once you kind of understand and get a bit more knowledge and kind of a bit more compassion for yourself, and along with learning the practical tools, because your ADHD can be part of such a successful life and career, and the tough times will pass, and as you gradually accept yourself and your brilliant uniqueness, it really can. And I'm on that journey myself, so I completely understand it, and I speak to people who are the kind of other side and still managing things, and we're always learning in life, and that's the beauty of it.
Your differences are your strengths.
Thanks for being here, Chris. I really appreciate it.
No, that was just so insightful, Mark. Yeah, your differences are your strengths.
Thank you so much for listening to this first episode and for letting me share my journey with you. If any part of my story connected with you, if you've ever felt different, misunderstood, or you're starting to discover your neurodivergent journey, I want you to know you're not alone. This podcast is here to build a community, a place where we can learn, share and grow together. So if this episode meant something to you, please subscribe, share it with someone who might need to hear it and help, and join me for more episodes where we'll dive even deeper. Remember, your differences are your strengths.